Alaikum, this is Nabila Sigdatama welcoming you all to the English news from Btv-Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. 5.7 magnitude quake jolts the capital and several parts of the country. Chief Advisor expresses profound grief over casualties. Armed Forces Day celebrated through festivities and enthusiasm. President Mohammad Shahabuddin and Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus paid deep tribute to martyred members of the armed forces. Government committed to building welfare-oriented state as envisioned by freedom fighters, says Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus. Chief Advisor calls upon armed forces to be ready and determined to protect country's sovereignty from any external attacks. Army organizes reception on Armed Forces Day in Chattogram. People from all walks of life gather to see naval warship. Israel attacks killed 33 more Palestinians in Gaza in one day. And Bangladesh lead by 367 runs against Ireland after third day of Dhaka test. Viewers, those were the headlines. Now moving on to the details. A 5.7 magnitude earthquake struck the capital city and several other parts of the country at 10:38 a.m. in the morning today. Bangladesh Meteorological Department BMD said the epicenter of the quake was located in Mahaddi in Naushandi, 13 kilometers east from the BMD Seismic Center Agargaon in Dhaka. The United States Geological Survey USGS, however, confirmed that the epicenter was located 14 kilometers west-southwest of Naushandi at a depth of 10 kilometers. The sudden jolt prompted residents in many areas of Dhaka to rush outdoor in panic. The tremor lasted only a few seconds, but people evacuated homes, offices and commercial buildings as a precautionary measure. Meanwhile, 3 pedestrians were killed in the city's Bongshal area after bricks fell from building during an earthquake. Malik Ahsan Uddin Sami, Deputy Commissioner of Dhaka Metropolitan Police, said 3 pedestrians were seriously injured when the bricks fell from the roof railing of a 7-story building of Sakimia on KP Ghosh Street under Bongshal Police Station. He said the 3 were rushed to Midford Hospital, where the 3 were declared dead. One of the deceased has been identified as Rafiqul Islam, a second-year student of Dhaka Medical College. Meanwhile, a 10-month-old girl was killed when a wall collapsed on her in Narangan's Roopganj Upazila during the earthquake this morning. According to the preliminary report of the Fire Service Department, an 8-story building collapsed at the Armani Tola's Koshaitoli. 2 units from Shodarghat and Siddiq Bajar fire station went there. No damages were reported to the building. 1 person was injured when a brick fell from the under-construction building in Khilgaon on a neighboring 2-story building. The person was rescued by local people. A fire was reported in a house in Baridhara Block F, Road 5. 2 units of Baridhara Fire Station were working to douse the fire. It's not known whether the fire was due to the earthquake, the report said. The Shutrapur Shami Bagh, an 8-story building, was reported to have tilted on another building. Members of Shutrapur Fire Station went to the spot. A building was reported to be damaged in the Chief Advisor's office. However, Satellite Fire Station inspected the spot, but no damages was reported. A 7-story building has been reported to have collapsed on the Abed Khali Road in Kolabagan. 1 unit from Mohammadpur Fire Station rushed to the spot. No casualties have been reported yet. A house caught fire in the Gojari Munshiganj. 2 units from the Gojari Fire Station rushed to the spot, the preliminary report said. Chief Advisor Professor Mohammed Yunus has said that the government is closely monitoring the situation after an earthquake and instructed all the officers concerned to immediately move to the field level and assess the possible damages. The government is aware of the public concern and anxiety following the earthquake tremors felt in different parts of the country. The situation is being closely monitored and all relevant officers have been instructed to immediately move to the field level and assess any possible damage, he said in a message released by his press wing this afternoon. The government is taking all necessary measures, giving utmost priority to public safety, the chief advisor said, adding that the fire service personnel are quickly responding to the reports of damage coming immediately from various parts of the country, including the capital. Professor Yunus urged the country's people not to pay attention to any rumors or misinformations and to remain cautious. Further instructions, including through hotlines and official government channels, will be issued if necessary, he added. The chief advisor said the government is committed to ensuring the safety of all citizens. Earlier, an earthquake of 5.7 magnitude jolted different parts of the country, including the capital city, around 10:38 a.m. today. Armed Forces Day is being celebrated today through various programs and festivities and enthusiasm, marking the establishment of Army, Navy and Air Force during the 1971 Liberation War. The day's program began with offering of special prayer after Fajr, prayers at all mosques in all cantonment and naval and air force bases throughout the country on the day, seeking divine blessings for the well-being and prosperity of the nation and progress of the armed forces. Specially equipped naval ships in Dhaka, Khulna, Chandpur, Borishal and Chittagong are being kept in the nearby anchored for the public. President Mohammad Shahabuddin and Chief Advisor Professor Mohammed Yunus paid deep tribute to the martyred members of the armed forces who sacrificed their life in the Great War of Independence on the occasion of the Armed Forces Day. They placed wreaths at the Shikha Onirbon of Dhaka cantonment marking the day. Shahabuddin first placed wreath at the altar of the Shikha Onirbon in the morning, followed by Professor Mohammed Yunus. After placing the wreath, they stood in solemn silence for a while as a mark of profound respect to the memories of the martyrs. A smartly turned out contingent of the Army, Navy and Air Forces presented a salute at the time while the bugle played the last post. Chief Advisor Professor Mohammed Yunus has said the government is committed to building a discrimination-free, exploitation-free and welfare-oriented state as envisioned by the freedom fighters. He said this while addressing the reception accorded to the Gallantry Award-winning freedom fighters and their inheritors arranged by the Armed Forces Division in Dhaka Cantonment today on the occasion of the Armed Forces Day. At the ceremony, the Chief Advisor handed over the commemorative plaque to the family members of the Bir Shrestha. Professor Yunus said that various activities are being conducted for the welfare of the freedom fighters and this trend will continue in the future. Recalling Liberation War is the greatest event of all time of Bangladesh history, the Chief Advisor said his government wants to build Bangladesh in such a way that people are the source of all power and that Bangladesh is recognized in the world as a humanitarian welfare state. The Chief Advisor also called for ensuring an environment where the youth can develop their own creativity and play a role in building the country.
মহান মুক্তিযুদ্ধে বীরত্বপূর্ণ অবদানের স্বীকৃতিস্বরূপ বীর মুক্তিযোদ্ধাদের কল্যাণে বিভিন্ন কার্যক্রম পরিচালিত হচ্ছে। ভবিষ্যতেও এই ধারা অব্যাহত থাকবে বলে আমি আশাবাদী। বৈষম্যহীন, শোষণহীন, কল্যাণময় এবং মুক্ত রাষ্ট্রের জন্য যে স্বপ্ন নিয়ে মুক্তিযোদ্ধারা দেশ স্বাধীন করেছিলেন, আমরা তাদের সেই স্বপ্ন পূরণে অঙ্গীকারবদ্ধ। আমরা এখন থেকেই বাংলাদেশকে এমনভাবে গড়তে চাই যেন দেশের জনগণের সকল ক্ষমতার উৎস হয়। বাংলাদেশ যেন বিশ্বের দরবারে একটা মানবিক ও কল্যাণকর রাষ্ট্র হিসেবে সমাদৃত হয়। প্রযুক্তি, অর্থনীতি ও সামাজিক উন্নয়নের ক্ষেত্রে উন্নত বিশ্বের সাথে তাল মিলিয়ে আমাদের এগিয়ে যেতে হবে। সেই লক্ষ্যে আমাদের তরুণ সমাজ যেন সম্পদের সীমাবদ্ধতা থাকা সত্ত্বেও মেধার ভিত্তিতে নিজ নিজ সৃজনশীলতার বিকাশ ঘটিয়ে দেশ গঠনে অবদান রাখতে পারে, আমাদের সেই পরিবেশ নিশ্চিত করতে হবে। জুলাই 2024-এ নতুন বাংলাদেশ গড়ার যে সুযোগ ছাত্র জনতার সাহস ও আত্মত্যাগের বিনিময়ে আমরা অর্জন করেছি, সেটাকে কাজে লাগিয়ে আমাদের সুন্দর সমৃদ্ধশালী ভবিষ্যৎ গড়তে হবে। বীর মুক্তিযোদ্ধা, শহীদ, আহত এবং জীবিত ছাত্র জনতার কাছে আমরা প্রতিজ্ঞাবদ্ধ থাকতে চাই, যেন তাদের দেওয়া সুযোগ কাজে লাগিয়ে আমরা বাংলাদেশকে পৃথিবীর সামনে গণতান্ত্রিক উত্তরণের একটি দৃষ্টান্ত হিসেবে উপস্থাপন করতে পারি।
Principal Staff Officer of the Armed Forces Division, Lieutenant General S.M. Kamal Hassan delivered the welcome speech at the event. Later, the Chief Advisor, Professor Mohammad Yunus, exchanged greetings with the Gallantry Award-winning freedom fighters and their inheritors. The Chief Advisor, Professor Mohammad Yunus, said the election will be held in the seamless and festive manner. He expressed the hope that the members of the armed forces would perform their duties with utmost efficiency and professionalism to make the election smooth and festive. The Chief Advisor made the remark while addressing a reception in the Shenakunjo in Dhaka cantonment on the occasion of the Armed Forces Day 2025. Recalling the contributions of the armed forces, Professor Yunus said, since the independence of the country, the armed forces have been working, standing by the people in nation building and tackling disasters alongside protecting the country's independence and sovereignty. The armed forces, as always, are continuously reciprocating the trust of the country's citizen by standing by the people during the 2024 Student People Uprising and in the ongoing state reconstruction and reform efforts, he added.
আমরা সবাই ব্যথিত, দুঃখ ভারাক্রান্ত। হঠাৎ ভূমিকম্পের কারণে কয়েকজন ইন্তেকাল করেছেন, তার জন্য আমরা শোক পালন করলাম নীরবতার মাধ্যমে। কিন্তু আরও বহু আছে যারা ক্ষতিগ্রস্ত হয়েছে, আহত হয়েছে, সম্পদের ক্ষতি হয়েছে, আর্থিক ক্ষতি হয়েছে। তাদের প্রতি আমরা সমবেদনা জানাচ্ছি আজকে। আশা করি তারা আবার নতুনভাবে তাদের জীবন শুরু করতে পারবেন। আমরা শিগগিরই একটা নির্বাচনের দিকে যাচ্ছি। নির্বাচনের মাধ্যমে আমরা নতুন বাংলাদেশের পথে যাত্রা করব। সেটাই আমাদের স্বপ্ন। এই নির্বাচন যেন সর্বাঙ্গ সুন্দর হয়, আনন্দমুখর হয়, উৎসবমুখর হয় এবং আমাদেরকে সেই যাত্রাপথে সুন্দরভাবে রওনা করে দিতে পারে। সেটার জন্য আমরা সবাই মিলে চেষ্টা করব। বাংলাদেশ সশস্ত্র বাহিনীর জন্ম 1971 সালে রণক্ষেত্রে। 71 সালের 25শে মার্চ হানাদার বাহিনীর নৃশংস আক্রমণের পরপরই 27শে মার্চ চট্টগ্রামের কালুরঘাট বেতার কেন্দ্র থেকে তৎকালীন মেজর এবং পরবর্তীতে রাষ্ট্রপতি জিয়াউর রহমান বাংলাদেশের স্বাধীনতা ঘোষণা করেছিলেন। এরই ধারাবাহিকতায় 21শে নভেম্বর সেনাবাহিনীর সাথে নৌ ও বিমান বাহিনী সম্মিলিতভাবে পাকিস্তানি বাহিনীর বিরুদ্ধে লড়াই শুরু করে। এই কারণেই 21শে নভেম্বরকে মুক্তিযুদ্ধের একটি মাইল ফলক হিসেবে গৌরবের সাথে পালন করা হয়। মুক্তিকামী সেনা, নৌ ও বিমান বাহিনীর অকুতোভয় বীর সেনানীরা জীবনের পরোয়া না করে, পরিবারের ভবিষ্যতের কথা চিন্তা না করে এদেশের স্বাধীনতা যুদ্ধে ঝাঁপিয়ে পড়েছিল। তারাই এদেশের আপামর জনসাধারণকে সাহস জুগিয়েছেন। মানুষের সঙ্গে কাঁধে কাঁধ মিলিয়ে জল, স্থল ও আকাশপথে সম্মিলিতভাবে প্রতিরোধ গড়ে তুলে দেশমাতৃকাকে পরাধীনতার শৃঙ্খল থেকে মুক্ত করে এনেছেন।
Later, Chief Advisor went around the reception program and exchanged greetings with the officers of the armed forces and their family members, diplomats and other invited guests. BMP Chairperson Begum Khalda Zia, Chief Justice, Member of Advisory Council, senior officers of the armed forces and their family members, leaders of various political parties, professionals and diplomats joined the reception program. The Chief Advisor held a one-on-one meeting with the BMP Chairperson Begum Khalda Zia on the sidelines of the reception program at the Shenakunjo. During the meeting, the Chief Advisor inquired about the physical condition of the former Prime Minister Begum Khalda Zia and wished her a speedy recovery. Earlier on the occasion of the Armed Forces Day 2025, Army Chief General Waqar-e-Zaman, Navy Chief Admiral Mohammad Nazmul Hasan and Air Chief Marshal Hassan Mahmood Khan placed wreaths at the Shikha Honor Bond to pay homage to the martyred members of the armed forces who made supreme sacrifices during the 1971 Liberation War. After placing the wreaths, the chief of the three services stood in silence for some time, remembering the supreme sacrifice of the martyred members of the armed forces during the Great Liberation War. A reception was organized at the Chattogram cantonment on the occasion of the Armed Forces Day today. GOC of the 24th Infantry Division of the Army and Chattogram Area Commander Major General Mir Mushfiqur Rahman addressed the event. He paid profound tribute to all the valiant martyrs, including the valiant freedom fighters of the Chattogram region in the Great Liberation War. At the same time, he called upon the members of the armed forces to brighten the image of the country in the international arena by performing their duties faithfully in the UN peacekeeping missions. The event was attended by the valiant freedom fighters, family members of the martyrs, senior military and civil officials, retired members of the armed forces, and local dignitaries. Various arrangements were made across the country to mark the Armed Forces Day. As part of this, a festive atmosphere has been created around the new mooring naval berth in Chattogram. The state-of-the-art ship of Bangladesh Navy, BNS Samudra Abhijan, was kept open to the public from 2 p.m. to sunset today. People of all ages from different areas of Chattogram rushed to see the warship. The visitors were excited to get a chance to learn firsthand about the weapons and activities of the ship by boarding the warship. The visitors expressed curiosity after seeing the warship, the war radar, cannons, and various navigational surveillance equipments on the ship. The ship, measuring 115.7 feet long and 39.2 feet wide, can travel at 29 nautical miles. It plays a special role in maritime security patrol and relief and rescue operations in natural disaster. Documentary films were screened at all ships and bases in the Chattogram naval area, and essay and painting competitions were held in Navy schools and colleges, highlighting the significance of the Armed Forces Day. Now, international news. Israeli attacks on besieged Gaza killed 33 more Palestinians in one day, many more injured. In a report, the British media outlet The Guardian says that despite the ongoing ceasefire, Israeli brutality in Gaza has not stopped. Netanyahu's forces are continuing to attack various areas of Gaza City and Khan Yunis Valley in violation of the agreement. After the ceasefire came into effect on October 10th, with U.S. mediation, many Palestinians have been killed and many injured in the attacks by the occupiers in the valley in one day. Hamas has called on the U.S. to bring Israel under control, saying that such attacks could lead to a more dire situation. In a report published on Thursday, Hamas said Israeli forces have forced 32,000 Palestinians from their homes in Jenin, Tulkram and Nur Shams refugee camps this year. The organization called such forced eviction a war crime and a crime against humanity. Talks at the COP30 climate summit in Brazil were disrupted on Thursday after a fire broke out in the venue, triggering an evacuation just as negotiators were hunkering down to try to land a deal to strengthen the international climate efforts. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres had appealed earlier in the day for a deal for the summit in the Amazon city, Belém, welcoming calls from some for clarity on the hotly disputed subject of weaning the world of fossil fuels. There are less than 24 hours until the scheduled end of the summit to find a consensus among nearly 200 participating countries. Host nation Brazil has framed a deal as a crucial step towards ramping up international climate action and demonstrating that there is broad support to accelerate turning decades of promises and pledges from COP summits into action. Shortly after lunchtime, however, security footage showed flames breaking out in an exhibition pavilion and spreading rapidly in the internal fabric shell that lined the walls and ceiling of the building before being extinguished. 13 people were treated for smoke inhalation at the venue, the organizers said. The local fire services said it was probably caused by an electrical equipment, likely a microwave, and was controlled within 6 minutes.